States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Board of Supervisors weekly meeting. This is Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. Do we have any changes to the tentative agenda?
Yes, accounts payable claims are not supposed to be on there.
Okay. And I believe we wanted to eliminate the janitorial contracts. Aye. Meet with department heads and elected officials. Let's start back. Rodney?
Good morning. Just really busy. We're just going to postpone those janitorial things possibly next week, so we're just giving you a little extra time on that. Other than that, just keeping busy. A little bit of snow this weekend, but not too bad down here. Other than that, nothing new to report.
Cheryl McVeigh?
Just want to let you know that Senate Study Bill 1056 is going to be voted on at 1 o'clock today in the Senate Ways and Means Committee. I sent you a link. You can watch that if you like. And we'll see where it goes from here.
Fun. Health Department, Christopher Willis?
Good morning. We're just keeping busy, nothing new to report.
And the county attorney, Lisa Shaker?
Have a jury trial going today at the district court. We have a couple of attorneys on vacation, so the rest of us are busy trying to make sure everything gets covered, but other than that, nothing major new to report.
Okay. Sheriff's Department, Kevin Glendenning?
Good morning. So our record management training is ongoing. We're getting ready to go live with that at the end of the month. Colin's probably been busier than that with it than about anybody, but all our record staff is in that training this morning just about inputting data and how to process that. So we're excited to get that going and make that change. Our jail numbers are 85 right now, and 12 are out of county. We are down to 2 juveniles. We had 3 for the last several months, but down to 2 juveniles now. Other than that, we've been pretty busy over the last several months with some scrap metal type thefts, catalytic converters, even taking wire and those kind of things. I just asked the public to have some awareness. If they see something, give us a call, even if it's a vehicle just parked along the side of the road that's out of the ordinary. We've had that where they'll park along the road, they'll hike a half mile or so to go do their thing. If they see a vehicle pull into a business or a private drive that's suspicious, try to get a description, a plate if you can, give us a call and we'll try to check it out. But we've also had some success with some of those operations we've put on. We've made some arrests and we've seen a decline in that. They're probably not going away, but just be aware that they're out there. Unfortunately, there's some value in some of those scrap metals. So the thieves find the things that have value and they're an easy target. So just be aware of that. I was under the weather for the second half of last week, and Attorney General Byrd made it down here. I was able to meet with her previously as part of our legislative committee. She's doing a great job about building communication, building those relationships for the future. So she's off to a really good start, and I was able to make that meeting. I know Lisa was, and members of my office in Burlington, West Burlington were. So just building that communication and getting to meet with her, I think, was a really positive start. So that's about all I've got.
Kevin, how many do you say you're holding for Oakdale?
I don't have that number today, but typically, well, Oakdale, I don't have that number. Usually we're about 1 or 2 on that. The halfway
I know
house
we have at least 2
2?
that are going to Oakdale.
The halfway house is always our bigger problem. It's 7 to 10 typically, and there is a bill that's being considered where the DOC would take control of the residential care facilities. One of the issues is when you have people coming out of corrections, out of the prison system, and they go to the halfway house, that's one way that they can get there. If the DOC has complete control of who gets those empty beds at the residential facility, then more than likely, it's gonna always be the folks that are coming out of the prison system. As opposed to when they go there as part of a condition of their probation, they're in our jail waiting for a bed there. And we get in line, and they work with us pretty well right now, where we'll have anywhere from 7 to 10 people waiting for one of those beds. If the DOC has complete control of how those beds are used, that could be a concern. They could just kind of be in our holding indefinitely, and we don't get refunded for those days that they stay when we're waiting on halfway house beds. So that's an issue right now, and it could become a bigger one depending on how this bill runs through.
I say the parole work release people are already the priority to get into our facilities, so.
When you take them nine people, that puts you back down to 70, get back down to normal where we used to be.
Yeah, it's always a couple that we're, not more than a couple, about 10% of our population we're just waiting for replacement for. But that's just kind of a revolving door, just waiting to find rooms for them.
Sitting on this end of it, when we're looking at it, we're paying the states to hold them people for them,
We absolutely are.
and our taxpayers are not getting any benefit out of it.
If that turnaround time was immediate, our population would be exactly where it needs to be. We'd probably still have a couple out of county,
Yeah.
but we would be sitting with the 10 to 12 that we typically do.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Sheriff. Colin Gerst?
It's keeping busy like always. Like the sheriff was saying, we're in crunch time for Motorola software project, so, working on that and, just finishing up other projects, so. Other than that, nothing new to report.
Sounds good. Gary Lasser, land use.
Morning. Well, I guess this didn't work when I was going like this. A couple weeks ago, we did have quite a few inquiries of nothing too major, but
You did not hard enough, Jared.
a few new
You did
things.
not harder.
Oh well, it's nothing unusual, but it's still busy for land use. But nothing on the agenda. Nothing out for review right now for subdivisions. But of course, probably looking at something beginning in the next few weeks or so. Apart from that, I don't have anything to report.
Sounds good. Ken Hyman, Seal.
Yeah, this morning I sent out an email to 3 board members and to Sarah about Medicaid unwinding, and I'll just give a handout to the media too. This is something I just got yesterday, and basically I had watched a webinar on not just Iowa Medicaid, but Medicaid for the whole United States, and there's 91 million people in the United States that'll be going through Medicaid renewals now. They had, back in 2020, they had said, well, you don't have to do Medicaid renewals because of the coronavirus legislation, and they kind of suspended having to do renewals. Well, now everybody has to go back through the renewal process, just like the old rules that said every year you've got to do a renewal for Medicaid. Well, now that's what's happening here. And they estimated in this nationwide thing that 15 million were estimated to lose their Medicaid during this renewal process. So that's about 16.5% of everybody that gets Medicaid could be losing it. So
Did you say 91 million people?
in the United States, yeah, 91 million people is
So
what they.
between 25 and a quarter and a third of all the people in the United States are on Medicaid, really?
That's what they said in their webinar this past week. They said that's the whole Medicaid system, and that's food stamps as well as disability services as well as the health department. And, I mean, there's just a lot of different services within that Medicaid array. So I just wanted to be sure. It's been a while since people have had to renew their Medicaid, and they've been auto-renewing it. Well, I just wonder how many people have moved, and are they going to get their packets of information from DHHS and Iowa Medicaid so they re-enroll? So the message I'd like to get out is, if you've moved in the past few years, be sure Iowa Medicaid and Department of Human Services, Department of Health and Human Services have your new address so that you get all the renewal information, and we find out, so that people that truly are eligible have a chance to get renewed, so. I guess that's it for now. Yeah.
Two questions. First, can the public, anybody who has questions, who should they contact to get more information?
I think either Iowa Medicaid or Department of Health and Human Services. I mean, those are the people that will be sending out information. They said that in this pamphlet that I just gave you, it says Iowa's choosing option A. You know, some states can start working on this February 2023, some in March and some in April. Iowa chose to start working on this in February, so I mean, that's tomorrow. So I don't think anybody will be losing their Medicaid until like April 1st, I think is what I heard, if they're ineligible. And it'll take a whole year to get all these eligibilities determined. So they'll get a notice if they're ineligible, but they'll also get, I think they'll get a packet of some kind of paperwork to fill out to determine their eligibility. So that's, I just don't want them to miss that packet too.
You answered my second question on why didn't you say?
Okay, and it may just be like a 2-week notice, if they're ineligible after they go through that whole packet and the state finds out. So, I mean, and then they'll be given other options, like say they have their health care through Iowa Medicaid and they lose it, they'll be told about the marketplace and other healthcare options to sign up for. So it'll be a big process, but this is gonna really keep the Department of Health and Human Services workers very busy and Iowa Medicaid workers very busy to re-enroll all these people.
Well, thanks for the heads up on that. Moving right along to the treasurer's office, Janelle Nally Lundquist.
Good morning. We are keeping busy. We have mailed out the Iowa property tax credit claim forms, or better known as the elderly credit form. We're starting to get a lot of those back in. And that credit is so far still funded by the state. But that's for total household income less than $25,328 and 65 years of age or older, or totally disabled. And that totally disabled is with a current statement from the Social Security Administration as to when the disability began. So we mail those out to people who had those in the previous year, and it has to be filed each year annually. But other than that, keep them busy, very busy.
And those have to be in by when?
June 1st to the treasurer's office.
Very much. Natalie,
Yes.
from the recorder's office. Natalie's got it.
Good morning. Things are good in the recorder's office, just business as usual.
Brian Carter, County Road.
Good morning. We've got a lot of stuff going on, but first I mentioned the guys were out over the weekend. We got, I think, a little bit of a surprise of a kind of a 1 to 2 inch snow overnight there Saturday morning. So they did come out and ran pavements until about noon, 1 o'clock, and then put them away. So there were some spots through the weekend where the snow blew back across, and it's kind of wheel tracks and stuff, but in general, you could get around. Got some slick gravels here and there. That's spotty too. It was so soft when we got the early snow that we had a hard time doing anything with it without basically shipping the rock off into the ditch. So we tried to be isolated where we did it. Well, then it got packed down and then the temperatures changed, and of course that switched over to ice, and there just wasn't much room in between to deal with it. So a few things like that. So the guys have tried to rough up a few spots, but in general you can get around just fine. Mentioned we're sending out letters this week to landowners about the Summers 99 closure. Just kind of particularly on the routes where we're gonna put some extra dust control. So those will go out. I threw a copy of that letter on your guys' desk this morning, so you can just look at that and throw it away. I just thought I'd let you see what we're sending out. On that topic, the project that closure will be for, that bid's in the DOT letting in February, so that's coming up. And as I sent you guys pictures, the contractor right now building the bridge was setting the first 5 beams yesterday. There's 10 more to be set. They're gonna start right around 11 o'clock. It depends on trucks and when they show up, and they're gonna set 10 of them today as their hopes and plans. And that'll have all the beams set, and they'll start working from there. So the site's gonna look a whole lot different after today with the beam sitting there. So, we also mailed out a couple other bids, a smaller bid for some steel for a couple local bridges we're looking at, and the dust control bid packet went out. So it's been an extremely busy couple weeks in our office getting stuff out the door. And then the riprap project on the bridge on 165th, they're making good headway. That's Cole Construction doing that project. Probably got 2 or 3 days of work really left. Same kind of issue. It got too warm and too soft and too muddy. It wasn't worth destroying as much as they were gonna destroy. And then it turned zero. So I think we'll get to more moderate weather next week. So they're looking at coming in. They gotta get a culvert installed and driveway replacements and stuff like that. But really, they're in the tail end of that project also. So, and I'm sure there's something else I'm forgetting, but there's plenty of stuff going on.
Everybody's good? Sarah Marie, auditor's office.
Good morning, just busy as usual, nothing new to report at this time.
All right. Gentlemen, any correspondence?
I am.
Okay, which moves us to discussion and vote. 5A is a resolution appointing Jim Carey to the Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Commission Board of Directors. Whereas the Des Moines County Board of Supervisors has recommended Jim Carey to serve on SEIRPC's Board of Directors, whereas the Board of Directors has reviewed the Des Moines County membership status, and he is in good standing. Be it resolved that Jim Carey is hereby appointed to a 1-year term to the SEIRPC, Southeast Iowa Regional Commission.
I'm proud to make that motion.
Can I get a second? I'll second that. Sarah Marie.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carey.
Abstain?
Congratulations.
Your excitement is overwhelming, as usual.
We greatly appreciate you serving on the board. And also for helping us discuss some ideas for that transportation committee recently.
Coming along pretty good.
Yeah, we.
Okay, next on the agenda is 5B. It is for the Compensation Board salary recommendations for FY 2023 and FY 2024. And we do have the great Dan Cahill is with us today, so we're just going to turn over to you, and you can do your thing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I do like to give folks a handout so they kind of follow along with my scribblings.
Okay.
So I made one for each of you. And Chris, this one, and I gave you one, and I gave Sherry. Sherry, did you get one? For you. Try to make one for all the elected officials, since they have such a interest in the results of our meeting. Okay, one for you. All right. Anybody else want to get some extra?
I'll take one, Dave.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
And that's not for recording in the auditor's office. it's
Right,
just for
right.
informational-
Just to look at it.
Informational purposes, okay? All right, well, and I see you've remodeled this room and taken out the Tom Daly Memorial speaker stand. You're all too young to remember Tom Daly. That's okay, but I usually get to stand here.
We've kept your honey pot though.
Oh, did you? And they're too young to remember the honey pot campaign.
But I've heard the story, though.
Okay. Well, I'm the reluctant chairman of the Des Moines County Compensation Board, all right? Just to let you know, I did try to get Sherry to be the chairman, but she wouldn't do it, but she ended up as secretary. And I'm glad that she's here today because I always tell the other members of the board, come on down to the meeting and be there for questions if the board has them. Nobody ever shows up. Thanks, Sherry, for being here.
Thanks, Sherry.
First, I want to start out, well, our members of our committee, I think we have a kind of a blue ribbon panel here. We've got Charlie Walsh from the F&M Bank. We have Sherry, of course. We have myself, we have Marlis Roberts, an attorney, and we have Shane Wiley, an attorney. I tried to get all of those folks, draft them into the chairmanship, but nobody would pick up on it. So I want to, the first page, number 1. If you look at that, I made it easy for you to follow along. This is page number 1. This is what you did to us last year, to the employees last year. We recommended, our recommendation for salary increases were 7% for all the elected officials except the sheriff, and that was 20%. And you all gave 3.85%, except 11% to the sheriff. And I should mention also, the reason, I like to tell people the reason we have a compensation commission in our counties, which I think is a great idea, because some of these folks may have heard this. I try to tell it every year. Iowa has, I think, a great law. They don't let the elected officials set their own salary. And, in a lot of jurisdictions and governmental units, that is a real problem, because they can set them really high. You probably all remember that town in California, I can't remember the name of it anymore, a couple of years ago, was in the news, a very small little town, and they all making $250,000 a year on the city council. Well, in Iowa, that can't happen. We have a statute, state statute, that says every county will have a compensation commission to set what we feel is the right amount of salary for all elected officials. So that's the sheriff and the recorder and the treasurer and the auditor. And down the line there. And it's great. And the law also provides that we can we just make recommendations, but it's up to the Board of Supervisors to set the actual salary. Now, we can make recommendations, and the board, your board, has the authority to reduce those as long as they're reduced in equal amounts. Except on we make a recommendation, you can reduce everybody 10%, 50%, or whatever you want to do, except the board, you can reduce your salaries by 100% if you want to. Because you're the elected officials, and you are maybe a little bit more nervous about what the electors might say, about what you're paying yourself. I don't know, I think that's probably the reason you haven't exempted. You can reduce your salary to 0 if you want, but everybody else has to be reduced by an equal amount. 10%, 20%, or they don't have to be reduced. We hope that you will accept our recommendations, of course. That's why we make them. All right, so now to get started, if you go to page 2, page 2 is interesting because it shows the salaries paid for each of the elected officials in the counties of approximate equal size and population to Des Moines County. We have 5 counties that are smaller than us in population, 5 counties that are larger than us in population. So we know what all of the elected officials make in each of those counties. It's really a very interesting chart. And we'll just take, for example, the first line there is supervisors. We know that, for example, in Warren County, the supervisors make $36,773. And if you go down there, there's Des Moines County, you folks make $40,508. And I did some computations to find out, well, the chart shows what the 10-county average is for these particular counties of approximate equal population, at least 10 counties. And the average is $41,594, okay? Now that, in regard to supervisors, it's a little bit more difficult because some of the supervisors, there's 5 supervisors. And so when they have 5 supervisors, generally their salaries are a little less. In total, it's always more. Like Lee County, for example, has 5 supervisors. I don't know why they do that, maybe, but years ago, I think they felt that rural areas weren't represented because a lot of the supervisors were from the city. And so now they changed the law, and now they have to they can be elected in a district, but the county has to. That's too much detail. Anyway, we know, if you look at my little scribblings on that column, that Des Moines County supervisors are paid $1,086 less than the average. Okay? You're paid $1,086 less than the average supervisor in a comparable county. That is 0.026% less. All right? Now that, let's say that this is my math. I did it kind of quickly, but I think I got it right. But I wanted you to know that you folks are a little underpaid by 0.02%. That's not too bad. But I want you to go to the next column that I did here. And you understand how this works now. You see the 10-county average for the county attorney. You just go to the top, and there's the attorney's column. The average county attorney in these 10 counties is $133,187. Now that starts to get pretty high, because our county attorney makes $11,175 less than the average county attorney in counties of comparable size. See, that's fairly important, and that is 8% less, all right, for the county attorney. Now, I've done that for each of the elected officials. The auditor here, I'll go to the next column, where I put a little circle for you there to find it. It says the auditor in these 10 counties, the average salary is $80,609. Our auditor is underwater on the average by $4,542. That's 0.056%, 5%, 5.5% roughly. I think that's very significant, $4,542 less. Now, this is after last year's figures, by the way. This isn't what we propose. This is because, I hate to say this, but our board was pretty cheap last year. Everybody else they knew what inflation was last year. We knew what inflation was last year, and we recommended 7% to try to keep pace with inflation. We've always done that in Des Moines County. I've been on this board like, I don't too many years, but we were always lucky in that inflation was 1.5% or 2%, and Tom always pointed that out to us and sent us a form out, and he did it this year too. 7.4% in Tom's form right now. But I think it's important that over the years we got off so lucky, because if inflation was 2%, we said, oh, that's great, we'll recommend 2%. We want to keep the employees' buying power equal with the inflation rate, okay? Well, that's what we tried to do last year, until the Board of Supervisors reduced everybody to 3.8%. Now, let me go back to this after my little rant. Let's go back to the recorder's office in that column. Now, and this is based on population, by the way. There's another one based on, other things, value of property in the county, and that's important too. I think Tom has brought that up in past meetings. Yes, there are rich counties and there are poor counties. You don't base everything maybe on population. Just so happens we have to have some kind of a full star that we're looking at to see how we compare. I did it on the basis of population, which I think is fair. So let's go to the recorder. And there's an X in that column because that county, Marshall County, doesn't have a recorder. It kind of screws things up a little bit. But the average salary for recorders in these comparable counties now is $79,426. Yeah. Our county recorder, therefore, is under the average by $4,560 based on her salary of, which we know is $74,866. That's 0.057%. Okay, a little over 5.5% below, and that's on last year's figures. I want to emphasize that. Our sheriff, now this is an interesting one. Our sheriff, after you cut us back last year, makes $108,372. That was a very nice raise. But we were reacting to the new state law, the Protect the Blue law, the law that the Sheriff's Association that got passed through our Republican legislature. Was just really crazy, and I'll tell you a little more about that later. But our share makes $108,373. That's a lot more than our share of ever paid before. And you folks gave him 11% raise after we recommended 20% last year. We were trying to comply with the law, and it is Iowa law. I want to impress it. I didn't want Des Moines County to be like a test case of whether compensation boards were following the new law. That's why we made it 20, even though we knew that that was ridiculously kind of low last year. Well, you cut it back to 11. And our sheriff last year was that new sheriff, just been elected, of course. And here he is in line to get an enormous raise. And he was very gracious last year, and I reminded him of this meeting this year, that he said, well, no, that's too much, I don't want it. Well, he's kind of come around a little bit this year, and I think he backs the blue law this year. Because this year, the blue law, and I'll get into that in a minute, but in any event.
Why do we only get them once a year?
Yeah. Now look go down that sheriff's column. The average of these 10 counties for sheriff is $116,579. Okay, a lot of money, especially for us old guys. We think, holy cow, sheriff, recorders and everybody making this kind of money, that's so much. But he is $8,206 under the average last year for what other counties are paying. That's 0.0703%. Okay, my point is, well, I'll do one more for you. Treasurer is the next column. Now, we know our treasurer, but on to the Moines County, makes $75,359. Okay, the average is $80,020. Our poor treasurer is $4,661 under the average. That's last year's figures, and that's like 6%, 0.0618%, too low, okay? That's why I did that chart. I wanted you all to, that's where we are, and that was last year's figures. Okay. Now let's go to page 3. And this really is a recommendation of the Compensation Commission for this year. Again, we recommend this year 10% increase for the elected officials, except for supervisors, which is 3%, which gets you up past the, past the deduct that you now suffer. And we recommend a 20% increase for the sheriff, which is still less than what the state really demands. But those are our, for this year, those are our recommended increases. Don't you know, the year starts July. 20% for the sheriff, 3% for the supervisors, and 10% increase for the officials. But if you take that 10%, it does sound like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But they're already, when you go to the first chart, they're already 8% under, 5% under, 5%, 7% under, 6% under. And what I mean? And Tom has always made the point on these things that this is a race, one county increases, the other counties try to keep up, and away we go. How this could go who knows where. He's made that point before, and it is a good point. But Des Moines County, I'm proud of Des Moines County. I'm proud of the employees in Des Moines County. I think we've got the best county employees, Board of Supervisors, with a couple of exceptions, are the best in the state of Iowa.
Thank you for not naming them.
Well, I did passports. I was talking about passports. Anyway, now, let's go to page 4, if you will. And this is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is one Tom always sends out every year, because we have to work with them, and it only goes through October, because I got this in December. and they hadn't reported yet. They probably have by now, and Tom probably got it on his desk, ready to trump on this figure. But as you'll see from that, this is the National Bureau of Labor Statistics. Over the CPI index shows a 7.4% increase in inflation. Okay, so we'd have to give everybody, just to keep them even in buying power, we'd have to give them 7.4%, and that's in October. And it may be up a little, or it may be down a little. Now, if you go to page 5, this is a good page. This, Charlie Walsh provided this, and I wrote at the top, Charlie Walsh, so you know who did it. This refers to the Iowa law, the blue, support the blue, you know, that everybody talks about. We have to, counties are by law supposed to pay our sheriffs and law enforcement people things that are comparable to what state law enforcement people are paid. Well, the state's got all the money, you know that. So they pay them very well. So here it is, the average salary of an administrator and command officer with the Iowa Department of Public Service is $138,000. We don't compare to that. The average salary of chiefs of police of comparable size by population is $144,000. Well, we are even close to that. And these are what are required under the new law, that was amended, which threw us all into a tizzy last year. The average of two comparable salaries required by state law is $141,000, what that is. And the Des Moines County Sheriff's, as I said, is $108,000. I think mine's a little different than that, but that's Charlie's figure. So to make it 141 times, he on our board recommended to make us comparable to what it should be under state law, a 30% increase in salary, just to make us what I feel, and I think he was right on it. I mean, I haven't checked their numbers on it, but it's close. It depends on, you know, what our sheriff obviously has got the, you know, the command, he was command officer, and also an administrator to a lot of employees in his office. So we recommend instead of a 30%, which is probably correct, you know, they've got a team of lawyers and people working with the legislature up there to get their salaries up high. They come up with 30% salary to make us comply with state law. We recommend 20. So now, if you go to page 6, I just thought these were interesting, and I cut them out of the papers over the years here as the county's boards meets for raises. This is it was in the Hawkeye December 9. And these are the proposals from Lee County. They proposed this year a 7% pay hike for the county elected officials. I just thought that'd be interesting. I think they recommended 45% last year. I've got a note somewhere in my file on that. Also,
in the second paragraph down there, Dan, 45% raise last year.
Yeah, 45%, yeah. We weren't certainly close to that, but I just thought, and they're not in our statistical thing that I went through before because they don't have the population we do. But these other counties are attempting also to follow the law. The page 7 is a current proposal from Moines County, I think from the Hawkeye, and they recommend 33% wage hike for their sheriff, 16% wage hike for all the rest of the employees. Now, I don't know what, obviously like you, they haven't completed their budget process, they haven't voted yet, so we don't know where that's gonna land, but they recommended 33% for sheriff. You know, why the county? It's, you know, a fraction of the size of our county. Their sheriff doesn't have the duties and staff and everything our sheriff does, or the rest of our elected officials, as far as employees, the number of employees, the size of the budget, everything you folks have to deal with. Now, if you go to page 8, I thought this was interesting. Tom, you'll like this one. This is for you, I put this in for you. This I got out of the Wall Street Journal on January 6th. This was on the op-ed page. And the guy makes a good point. It's Alan Blinder is the guy's name. He was formerly vice chairman of the Federal Reserve and is now a professor at Princeton.
His books.
Do you read his book?
A
He's quite
couple of
young. I saw him on TV a lot when he was on the Fed, and he was blinking all the time. Blinder was a great neighbor, because he's with Blinder all the time on that. All the time. It's crazy, but he does have a great mind, and maybe bad eyes. But here's what he argues this, and it's an interesting point, that maybe this inflation, what if inflation dropped and no one noticed? I do feel that inflation is dropping now, and it's not gonna be hanging around this 7-point thing very long. I think the target rate from the Fed is probably gonna be, like I read, 4 to 4.5%. They may hit it by the end of the year, depending on, if we don't go into deep recession or something, if they keep raising the interest rates like they are. Tomorrow, they're gonna raise them again. Everybody's voting on 0.25%, maybe 0.50%, but definitely not a 0.75% like they've done the last 3 times. So I think they have got a control of inflation, I really do. And I just wanted to put that in because I think it's fair. I've been arguing for these higher things, but I think in the future, and if next year, we come back here next year, if I'm here next year, if I can get Sherry to be the chairman, and we come back and inflation is 2%, then we can argue, 2%. But obviously the salaries have been raised, you're gonna be able to reduce salaries, they're gonna be up there like that forever. But I thought it's an interesting argument that Linder has, and I tend to buy it. I really do. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm not an economist or anything.
One correction on the 4 to 4.5% he's talking about.
Yeah.
That's the Fed funds rate.
That's
not
Fed funds
inflation.
rate. That's not inflation rate. But if they get the Fed funds rate down there, inflation goes down. If they're
That's
not
right,
in,
Fed
if
funds
they
rate's
keep
low.
it up, you'll agree with me on this. If they keep raising it and force us into inflation, or force us into a depression. A recession, all hell's gonna break loose. So, anyway, that's my deal. And I hope that you accept this year, so that we can at least stay comparable to our surrounding counties. I I think that's only fair to our employees. You can have that. Thank you. So, there you have it. If you have any questions that I can answer, I will.
I have a question. Actually, I have
Yes.
a correction.
Okay. Uh-oh.
I'm sorry to correct you, Mr. K. You'll have to correct me sexually.
My math?
If you go back to page 2, let's just form.
I figured column.
Go to column 3, for example, the county attorney.
Yes.
If you divide 133,187, divide 11,175, which is the difference, by the average of 133,187, you get 8.39%, not 0.08%.
I got, okay. You mean where I put my point?
Right, as a percentage.
But it's 8.39%.
Yes,
8.39.
8.39. And that's true all the way across, but that's a common thing for people who don't like math.
Well, I don't like math, but I tried to work them backwards and say if we gave her a raise, it'd be that. Anyway, you're right about that, that's okay. Anybody else have any questions? Now, I encourage you to adopt our recommendations, okay, plainly act. And I see on your schedule for today's meeting, it says, I was shocked to hear it. And I told our new auditor, I said, I could have a heart attack if you accepted that today. It says, resolution approving compensation board salary recommendation. Wow, that's quick service. I usually, they wait till I leave the room, then vote a 50% discount.
Man, you folks, we appreciate the work you do, we really do.
Well, I think it's important.
And like you said, it's something that the we don't sit up here and give big salaries to ourselves and everything. Be it known that, we have to be fair to taxpayers also, and we have to be fair to our elected officials. A lot of consideration went into this, and, I am at reducing it by 30%.
Well, you know, if I can respond to that, you know, even like this JIK settlement down here, look at these, everybody, they're getting 24% increases, I know it's over several years, but big increases. I think we gotta keep up. I do. Big ones, I mean, let's see, if we were gonna, who else had an enormous, it wasn't a governmental unit. It's just some industry that wanted to keep their good people. And the other thing is, we have great people, and we have a great place for them to work. I've always said that. Des Moines County really, to my knowledge, never loses an employee to the private sector. Law offices can't compete with the salary that the county pays their employees, for example. I'm just saying, for example. And in fact, I chided Charlie a little bit. I said, now Charlie, do you believe in these raises? Are you giving all your people the 20% raise? I don't recall that I got an answer to that question. But yeah, private offices, you know, it's tough. A lot of overhead and stuff like that. Overhead is something you guys worry about. You know, the taxes don't get too high and whatnot, but you don't have to worry about overhead. And profits.
What's that?
We give 30% of the raise, or reducing it, or reducing it 30%, giving 70%.
That's what I recommend.
Which one?
30%, give them 7% raise.
Well, let me start by, I wouldn't miss this for the world.
Yeah.
This is my favorite presentation of each year, so I want to thank you guys. That's you guys, I appreciate it. And the only quibble I would have is on one-year calculations. When you left out Marshall County, I realize they don't have a recorder, but they have a sheriff and attorney and everything. Yeah. And they also pay less than Des Moines County does. And they're the one directly next to us in the salary range. I mean, in the population range. But that aside, the most of the differences between us are due to the reflection of the responsibility of our boards. Right. Compensation board is tasked by the Code of Iowa with reviewing comparable salaries and making a recommendation to the board, and the board's responsible for maintaining an adequate and responsible budget. Yeah. And you're correct, Des Moines County enjoys the services of an excellent attorney, an excellent auditor, an excellent recorder, an excellent sheriff, and an excellent treasurer. So I don't disagree with that at all, and that every one of those individuals knew the problems we were facing going into this budget year, and they all responded with tight, well-structured budgets to make it possible for us to function within those constraints. And looking at it from the Board of Supervisors, I don't see how we can squeeze your entire recommendations into that fiscal 24 budget. I'm actually a little uncomfortable with the 70% level, but reservations notwithstanding, I would make the motion, or second Jim's motion, the 70% level.
We're gonna move in second. Let's do it. Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane Campbell.
Yeah, surprised. This is unbelievable. This is unprecedented.
I told the girls in the office yesterday when I was making my copies, I could have a heart attack here today if you guys went ahead and got this thing done today.
And we're all concerned about your health.
Not as much as I am. And, you know, I really really, your argument, Tom, is always good about the responsibilities of the board.
Oh, wait,
Because
which
as you
one?
know, I was on the board 20 years. I was on the board twice, but it was 20 years ago or so.
Yeah, no.
And our budget was so small,
That was just for your.
we didn't know if we were gonna pay our bills at the end of the year. And you were there when we didn't have a lot of money in our budget. And I was researching the possibility of the county having to write IOUs to suppliers. Because that's how close we were. And you guys, by being thrifty, have brought us back to that and the American Act, pumped all that money into your budget. But I remember when it was really close, because, you know, so I appreciate your thrift. I do, I appreciate it.
And Dan, you gave me my first advice on the board.
Yeah.
We were coming into my first board meeting, hadn't been sworn in yet. We were coming out here, and said, Dan, can I say whatever it would have been? He said, once you're sworn in, he said, you can say anything. Then came out here and proved it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This is my favorite meeting of the year too, Tom.
Dan, I really owe thanks to you and Tom then on the board when you guys took the insurance and put it back in general basics and not give it to the supervisor.
Yeah.
In 10 years I've been on there, that's probably just what I would have took to save the county over $170,000.
Yeah.
That was a good.
Once in a while, an idea comes along that can save the county. So
It was Dan's motion.
I would like to have the county, I'm still with, what I proposed at one time, I'll say it again to you guys today. Insurance is so expensive. I would like to see the county be able to come up with a system when you have your individual retirement account, it's gonna take care of it. You know, you deposit so much, then your insurance premiums go down. I did it in my office when I was at a law office, and it really worked great. You know, you put in so much. And my insurance premium, because the deductible was like 20 or 25%. You know, because the money comes out, it's a great idea.
An HSA?
Yeah.
I think the Cobco board just approved that option for county employees and state employees.
I just think it's something that should be explored. It's very complicated, but I always thought, well, maybe the county ought to take 20 grand for each employee, put it in an HOA, right, a health savings account.
I don't think you can just take it without their permission.
Well, no, I mean, take it out of the county. All this cash money you guys got laying around now from
The honey pot?
You got a honey pot. They haven't seen the honey pot here. But take that money, put it into a health savings account for each employee, okay, 20 grand, 25 or whatever it is, and then reduce your cost of insurance, and then all of their little calls to the doctor and all of that stuff that the insurance company are billing you for now, or is in your premium, comes out of their health savings account. And the employees, when they get a little cough or something, are more likely to stay home or something, take care of themselves, rather than take it out of their savings, which what's left when they retire, they get. That's my only point. But you got the honey pot to do it.
One moment before you leave.
Yeah.
I get to tell one Dan story. Everyone's familiar with your odd sense of humor by now. So the honey pot story is when Dan first ran. It was in the '90s.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's running. He said, "I got a honey pot full of money there." He said, "I got a honey pot full of money." He said, "We need whatever." Anyway, so a few days, maybe it was the first day. He would have been elected on a Tuesday. When this was in the '90s, so he goes down to the Sombrero on that Friday night. And I just happened to be there, standing at the south end of the bar. And anyway, Dan walks in with a grin on his face. Dan walks in with a grin on his face, and somebody said, "Congratulations, Dan." He said, "Let's spend some of this county money."
I did, that was a honey pot. Honey pot down there.
Thank you, Dan.
You bet.
Thank you, Sherry.
Go ahead, Bob.
Go ahead.
Bob, I think
Dan?
he's got a question
Danny?
for you.
Danny. Leave the hawk on.
Oh, it's Sherry does. Come on, Terry. There's the chairman next to you.
Dan, come back in.
Come here, come back here for 1 second.
Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
press has a
Sure.
question.
Just to clarify, you just got 70% of your proposal approved, correct?
70% of they've accepted, yeah.
7-0.
7-0.
Are you happy with that?
I would rather it be 100%, but I expected it might be 50%. So 70% is better, and the employees are probably accepting of it. And if inflation goes to 2% next year, the recommendation will be 2%.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again.
Thanks for the question, Bob.
All right.
I'm just glad he's still in the company. This is the most entertaining presentation of the year. Every year.
Brings us to C. It's a resolution for the 2023-006 approving compensation board salary recommendations for FY 2023-2024 at 70% of the recommendation.
We, that's
Yeah,
what
all
we
right,
just,
we're
we
good.
did that one, so we're on B. We did that.
Oh, you good with that?
Yep.
I thought what we did first was,
B was just his speech.
all right. Well, then I'm gonna need that, big thing. Do this real quick.
I haven't typed it up yet,
She's got her filled out already. Thank you, Sarah Marie.
not completely.
Lisa, I have to tell you, Wise County, Anthony Parsons up there is part-time, making $96,542. That's pretty good for a part-time attorney.
Especially in that county that doesn't have at least the criminal workload that we do.
Yeah. Couldn't believe that when I read that, so.
I signed the
I'm
recs.
supposed to sign on the bottom.
That's where they got me, man.
Yeah, I see that.
Put a little arrow pointing to the top.
Yeah. I got it reversed.
Okay, next we have the approval of Middletown Law Enforcement Agreement for FY 2023-24. Whereas the City of Middletown, Iowa desires a contract with Moines County for police protection. We already talked about this. Do you want to say anything on this, KG?
Sure, so Middletown's a population of 360 residents, but they are an incorporated city, so they're required to provide their own law enforcement service. They contract with us, and they have for as long as I can remember history. We're glad to provide that service. I just put together a per capita estimate and then number of hours that it takes to provide that service, and that's how we reach that number.
Okay.
Motion to approve the law enforcement agreement.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Sir. Next, we have 5E. It's a tax abatement request from the City of Burlington for parcel 16-07126-021, 113258-012. Dear Terry, the city is requesting, well, this was last year. The city is requesting release of any and all property taxes and special assessments associated with the following property. It's Burlington D. Wall sublot parcel G. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I don't think we have a legal right to even turn that down.
I don't think so.
Which doesn't make any difference. Motion to approve.
And second, Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yep. Okay, 5F. We have outstanding checks for the number of $232. This is in the wrong one, that is not outstanding. This should be 5G.
Well, that,
No, F.
that's F, isn't it?
That's it. They're canceling the outstanding treasurer's check.
All right, all right. Well, then let me rephrase that. For the amount of $232, cancel outstanding treasurer's checks.
These are checks that haven't been paid
Right.
in a year.
Oh, it's been well over, yeah.
Okay. Move to approve?
Second.
Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Okay, no accounts payable. G's been removed, which brings us to H, which is appointment of Yellow Springs Township Clerk, Bradley Lane. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. I has been removed. Next we have some personnel actions. The first one is for the IT department, Jesse Miller, unpaid time off, 7.5 hours for 1/12/2023.
Move to approve?
Second.
Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. And then we have two for the sheriff's office. The first one is for John Gates. 18-month step increase from 74.77 to other. But his previous rate was $55,390.10. His new rate is $58,648.33 effective February 23rd. And then the second one is Xander Schweiss. And it is the same. His 18-month step increase, his previous rate was $55,390.10. And his new rate is $58,648.33 effective February 24th.
Motion to approve both.
Second?
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yep. Then the last one is for Clayton Addison, or Addison Clayton. It's her resignation.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Her last day was 12/26, by the way. And it's been moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Thank you for your service. we have report from treasurers, cash on hand for December 2022, Veterans Affairs monthly report from January 2023, and they will be on file in the auditor's office. You can read them at your leisure. Last but not least, we have the minutes for the regular meeting on January 24th, 2023.
Move approved.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Any other business, gentlemen?
I have some. To make life a little easier on Cheryl who's left, we need to, we've received a number of requests for personnel and capital expenditures that we need to go through. The next Tuesday, we will have to pass or approve the maximum tax dollars, whatever the hell it is. We need to get this out of the way. It won't take very long, it's no big deal. We've all were here when those requests were made, and Cheryl will type them all out and put them on we'd have to have 24 hours notice. Does tomorrow afternoon work for you guys? Maybe 1 o'clock or something?
I'm good.
Early
You
afternoon
might
work
need
for
to
you,
be a
Jim?
little earlier than 1.
Well.
Was it gonna take us about an hour?
Nope, it's not gonna take that long.
Tomorrow afternoon,
Tomorrow after lunch could be early.
let's do it earlier because I've got
12:30?
we got a 2 o'clock thing.
One to, can you send out a notice or a public notice that it's gonna be tomorrow at 11? Would that work for you, Jim?
11 o'clock would work perfect for me.
Let's see if we can do that tomorrow at 11.
Okay.
And then so you send that out
That's
before
your
11.
approvals of the budget stuff that, on that
Yeah,
list?
we're just gonna
Okay.
go through, it's not it's sort of a budget work session or work budget.
Finalizing.
Budget hearing, just finalizing, handful of requests. We need to get that done for Cheryl.
Tomorrow,
Sounds good to me.
11?
Okay, future agenda items?
Just a reminder, at some point whenever you're ready, we can start the wind and solar work session, so I'll leave that up to you when you're ready to proceed with that.
I'm just about finished with the bonding requirements I'm writing down.
We need to do a public hearing on the kind of up and down votes on the sea level request for 70th. I sent the landowner letters out that I told you guys I would. I did not give them a date, but I referenced we'd probably do that in February. Seemed pretty reasonable, so are you guys ready for me to work with Sarah and kind of go through and see what the advertising requirements are for that and throw it on maybe the 14th or the 21st, one of those middle February board meetings?
That'd be good. The 21st, I might, if my flight's not canceled, I'll be here. I'll be coming back from Texas that Monday. 21st, if it's canceled, I don't know. I'll try to get
You'll
on.
be here the week prior, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Well, it could be the 28th too. I just was kind of targeting February because I told the landowners I thought it'd be February. I've only had one request to be notified of when it actually gets scheduled. I have had some input. I was gonna pass that on to you guys. So just wanted to make sure you guys were comfortable with me going ahead and working with Sarah and getting that on. So I'll just try to avoid the 21st. So we'll look at either the 14th or the 28th, and I'll just sit, like I said, so with Sarah and figure that out. But are you guys okay with that?
I am.
I am.
Okay, I'll work towards that then.
Committee reports.
I attended the COBCO, the city county health insurance board meeting, and we received the health insurance renewal with 5% increase. And as I mentioned to Dan, it looks like we're going to have it would be an option, it isn't part of the base, option, but if somebody wanted to have a high deductible, a health savings account, isn't there, health savings account like that Dan was talking about, that, and the Cobco, when they'll come around and they'll take time to explain that to everybody, which won't work for everybody, but I think it's a great deal for, if you'd work for it, I mean, if it works for you. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Thomas. James?
I attended the Southeast Iowa Regional Planning meeting, and they presented Mayor John Billups with Leo
In McCosh. Yeah.
Award, and he was very rewarding of it. Dr. Ash wrote a letter of recommendation, and Shane McCampbell wrote one for him, and he did receive the award. Other than that, business was pretty much as usual.
Alrighty then. I've got nothing to report. At this time, we'll give an opportunity for public input. You can call at 319-753-8203, extension 4, or you can email us at board@dmcounty.com. Let me say that again. It's board@dmcounty.com. That's where you can email, which nobody ever does. Or you can call us at 319-753-8203, extension 4. We're here and ready to listen. Start the clock, James. And while we're waiting, somebody say something interesting. You guys are just full of interesting things. Please, share something with us. Excuse me?
Something interesting.
That was really, really nice. I saw a lady that looked like you walking out of a burger shop the other day with somebody that looked like your husband.
One more quick Danny story. I believe it might have been his last day as a supervisor. But, of course, it's cold out, so Danny puts on, he's got a nice overcoat. He's standing there at that door, and he opens the door. He turns his head and he says, "If anybody asks," he said, "Danny's left the building." I think that's how Elvis used to sign off. Elvis, he left the building.
Another one on Danny, when I took his place, and he took me around to the boards, he said, "These are the boards you're gonna be on, and you're gonna like them." He said, "But these are the boards that feed you."
I seen Dan in Hy-Vee one day, and walking down the aisle, and he goes, "It's time for you to move on." He said council thing, he says, "It's time for you to move on." I was like, "Well, I am moving on." He says, "Yeah." He says, "But I got something even better." He says, "You're gonna like this." He says, "You're gonna really enjoy it." He says, "If you like doing city stuff, you're gonna love doing county stuff." And he's going on giving me this pitch for about 15 minutes on the aisle at Hy-Vee. Then I'm hearing from him later, or from John, through John Billups, talking about, "Yeah, I talked to Cahill. Man, I think it's something you need to do." But anyways, long story short, I'm in this seat now, and I don't even know how it happened. I was just planning on walking away, but Cahill stopped me in Hy-Vee and said, "You're gonna love it. You need to do this." Strong arm me in Hy-Vee. Sir Robert.
The Isle of Hy-Vee, is that in the Hebrides?
What's that?
Is that group of islands, is it?
Which Hy-Vee was it?
The Isle of Hy-Vee.
I can't hear.
Isle of Hy-Vee?
Yeah, where's the Isle of Hy-Vee located, in the Hebrides?
No, it was the third aisle. The third aisle. You're not using your pineal gland, otherwise you'd understood that.
Probably the liquor aisle.
It's the one next to it, the stuff that you buy to soak up the boost.
2 minutes are up.
2 minutes are up. And with that, and an aye, we're adjourned.
Aye.
Thank you all 8 of you, all 15 of you. Good. I told you guys can get rid of that big start.